Well, for more on that upcoming summit, we're now joined by SABC correspondent Whitfield-Miocic, who's in Seoul, the capital of South Korea. Thanks very much for joining us, and welcome to the program. So a bright day there, looks a bit chilly. I'm seeing the flags there sort of in the wind, but these are exciting times for the region.
Yeah, most definitely. One could say the winds of change, especially for North Korea, which has just arrived into Singapore. Singapore's foreign minister tweeting a picture welcoming Kim Jong-un to the country, that tiny nation. Now, we know that Kim Jong-un has brought along with him Kim Yong-chol. That is the former spy master that we saw in that report, who was dispatched to the US to try and salvage the talks, first meeting Mike Pompeo in New York and then Donald Trump himself in Washington, D.C. So this is going to be an act of pure theatre, especially from a political sense. We know that Donald Trump is in the air at the minute, and he'll be making his way to Singapore within the next few hours. And from there, there's going to be a series of meetings that will take place. First, Kim Jong-un is going to meet with the Singaporean Prime Minister, and then we're expecting some sideline discussions between the delegations of the US and North Korea. Then on Tuesday, the main event will take place, where those two leaders will sit down and we'll get the very first picture for the first time of a sitting US president sitting with a North Korean leader.
So there's a lot of questions about whether Donald Trump is taking this all that seriously. As you said, theatre might be part of it. He says he doesn't need to prepare, and he'll know inside a minute whether anything's going to come out of it. Is he going there seriously?
Well, there are two ways to look at this, and Donald Trump would say no other president in the past has managed to achieve getting a North Korean leader to sit down and talk. Other people are saying, though, and especially analysts, they're saying that the US has already given away far too much. North Korea's main aim is to try and achieve some sort of diplomatic recognition by the United States. It's always been the way. They want to open up a bureau or even an embassy in Washington, D.C., and they want to be recognized as a sovereign state. Well, now they're getting to meet the leader of the biggest nation in the world in terms of economic power, and now the US has sort of rolled back on this demand for complete, verifiable and irreversible denuclearization. That's been seen key by many people here, that the US really strive to get North Korea to give up all of its nukes all at once. Well, Donald Trump's saying that he's now prepared to see it maybe in a phased manner, but he's also prepared to ease back on that maximum pressure policy which he's been maintaining so far. So it really depends who you ask for. It's one of those dilemmas that we've got. We've never ever seen a situation like this, and Donald Trump's flair might just be the one thing that could see these talks lead to something.
So what are the bookies saying in terms of anything actually coming out of this? I mean, we've got Donald Trump unable to agree with his G7 partners. How on earth is he going to get an agreement with the United States' long-time enemy?
Well, definitely, and if you're in the G7, you must be thinking, if you've got friends like these, who indeed does need enemies? And North Korea was one of the longest-standing enemies of the United States since the 1950s, since that Korean War, and the US had to intervene to try and repel the attack, and something that it did achieve, repelling the North Korean invasion and pushing them back towards the North Korean border on the 38th parallel. Nobody knows exactly what's going to happen, but analysts are saying what they are anticipating is at least a good picture minute, something for Donald Trump to take back to the States to say, look, I've done this and this has all been great and it will be played as a success. But how meaningful a success, that still remains to be seen. There's also concerns about what Donald Trump will be giving away at the summit. It's understood that North Korea really wants to roll back the sanctions to get some economic aid. Well, some of the experts I've been speaking to have said in the past, any aid that has been given to North Korea has then been funneled for nefarious activities, including building a nuclear weapons program. We are anticipating potentially and this is a big but potentially for that peace deal between North and South Korea to be ratified at the meeting. We've seen some pictures of a conference hall being set up with flags from both China and South Korea. Now, if that were to be the case, we'd anticipate for Moon Jae-in and Xi Jinping to travel there to sign that document, because both the US and China are signatories to it, as well as North Korea. But so far, we haven't had any official word on whether the South Korean president will be making that journey. High-placed sources that I've spoken to say nothing has been planned as of yet, but they do stand ready in case a last-minute trip has to be arranged.
All right, okay, perhaps as a final question, let's say something does come out of this. Who do you think is likely to get the most political capital from this historic summit?
Well, if you ask Donald Trump and his supporters, especially in the Republican Party, would say this is surely more than enough to allow him to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And it could be argued that other people in the past have won the Nobel Peace Prize on a lot less. South Korean president, or a former South Korean president, won it for the Sunshine Policy, which was seen as engaging North Korea and South Korea by giving North Korea vast sums of money in an attempt to bring the two countries closer together. Now, that ultimately failed. However, there will be others that say, now that Kim Jong-un has met with the leader of the so-called free world, and now that he's attempting to pull the political strings, something which he seems to have done with quite a lot of clout. You know, first it was North Korea that threatened to pull out, then the US said that it wasn't going to take part anymore. Now it's all back on again. This could be some of the best political spin that we've seen in years. Who knows exactly who will win, as it's seen the ratings, and who comes out as the top dog. We're going to have to wait and see on Tuesday for all that to take place.
All right, Oliver Whitfield-Miocic, don't fall asleep. This is the biggest story of your life. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. All right, so that's Oliver Whitfield-Miocic, who's in Seoul in South Korea, watching that story for us, and we'll catch up with him as that story unfolds.